All right, let's just jump right in. The title of this paper is a pretty bold claim, right? Ideal registration, segmentation is all you need. But it points to an idea that's so powerful and, honestly, so simple that it might just crack one of the toughest nuts in medical imaging.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Your body is never perfectly still. Your heart is beating, your lungs are inflating, your gut is moving. So how on earth do you take two scans, maybe from today and one from a few weeks ago, and get them to line up perfectly? It's a huge challenge, and it's what we're going to unpack.
So the official term for this is image registration. The best way to think about it is like you have two transparencies and you're trying to lay one perfectly on top of the other, stretching and shifting it until every little detail lines up. And getting this right is absolutely critical for tracking a disease or even planning a surgery.
Okay, so before we get to the big breakthrough, we have to really appreciate the puzzle itself. Why is this so ridiculously hard to do? Well, here's where the chaos really sets in. Your organs don't move together in some nice, neat formation. The liver moves on its own terms, the spleen does its own thing, tissues stretch and squish in really complicated ways. The river analogy here is perfect. It really is like trying to align two photos of a river. Every current, every little swirl is different. There's no single simple rule to describe that kind of motion.
And that brings us to the fundamental problem with how a lot of AI models have been trying to solve this.
You see, for years, the big assumption baked into most of these AI models was that you could treat the entire medical image like one continuous, stretchy rubber sheet. You pull one part and the whole thing deforms smoothly with it. But our bodies just don't work like that, do they?
In this slide, this really gets to the heart of the whole philosophical shift. That old assumption, what they call global smoothness, is why progress basically hit a wall. It just doesn't match reality. The truth is what they call local smoothness. Motion inside your liver is smooth, sure, and motion inside your kidney is smooth. But the space between them, they can slide and shift past each other. It's a way more realistic model of what's actually happening.
So once you realize that the old way is flawed, it opens up the door to a completely new and, frankly, way more logical way of thinking. This question is everything. It's the big aha moment. What if we stop trying to wrestle with that giant, complicated rubber sheet all at once? What if we just cut it into smaller, more manageable pieces first?
And there it is, the whole strategy in a nutshell. It's a classic divide and conquer. And the tool that lets us do the dividing is something that AI has gotten ridiculously good at over the last few years: image segmentation.
So what's segmentation? It's basically like a high-tech coloring book for doctors. It's where an AI goes into a scan and perfectly traces the outline of the heart, the liver, the kidneys, and so on. It turns that gray, messy image into a clean map of all the different anatomical parts. And those parts, they become our puzzle pieces. So how does this actually come together? Let's walk through the framework the researchers built, which they call SegReg.
It's this beautifully simple three-step process. First, you split. You use segmentation to break the image down into all those organ-level puzzle pieces. Then, you align each one of those pieces individually. And trust me, aligning just the liver is a way simpler problem than aligning the whole abdomen. And finally, you merge all those perfectly aligned pieces back together to create the final master image.
And by doing it this way, the whole framework just naturally respects how the body actually moves. It allows for those gaps and shifts between organs. The liver can slide past the kidney, no problem, because they were aligned as separate objects. We finally just thrown out that old, broken, stretchy rubber sheet idea for good.
Now, it's a really elegant idea, right? But the big question is, does it actually work any better? Let's check out the results.
So on really tough cardiac scans, trying to align a constantly beating heart, the previous best-in-class model got an accuracy of about 87.8%. SegReg comes along and boosts that to a full 90%. Now, that might not sound huge, but in this field, that is a really significant jump.
And this is where it gets even more wild. On complex abdominal scans, where there are huge differences between patients, SegReg just blew the doors off the competition and improved accuracy by about 12% over the next best method. That's massive. It shows this isn't just a fluke, the approach is seriously robust.
Okay, but here's the thing. Those results were using standard off-the-shelf segmentation models, and they're not always perfect. So the researchers ask this brilliant question. What's the absolute ceiling here? What happens if we give this system perfect, hand-drawn, ground-truth segmentations to work with? What's the best it could possibly do?
And the answer is just, wow, 98.23%. Let that sink in for a moment.
That is near perfect alignment. What this proves is that the divide and conquer idea itself is fundamentally correct. The framework can achieve almost flawless results. The only limiting factor is the quality of the puzzle pieces you give it.
And this discovery leads to a really profound shift in how we need to think about this entire field.
This little table here spells out the new reality perfectly. There is a direct, almost one-to-one relationship. You give SegReg a segmentation that's 91% good, you get a registration that's 90% good. You give it perfect segmentation, you get a near-perfect registration. Better puzzle pieces make a better final picture. It's that simple.
And this is really the biggest takeaway of the whole thing. The really hard, unsolved problem of image registration might not be about registration at all anymore. The performance is now directly and predictably linked to a totally different problem, and one that many people feel is much closer to being solved: segmentation.
I think the authors themselves said it best. They have effectively transformed the registration challenge into a segmentation problem. What that means is that every new innovation, every improvement we make in segmentation will now automatically lead to better registration.
And that just leaves us with this final, massive question to chew on. For decades, the smartest people in this field have been battling to get alignment right. If this new approach means perfect alignment is now basically a solved problem, limited only by segmentation, what does that unlock for medicine? What can we finally see and track and even cure when our view of the human body is no longer blurry?